Hello everyone. Today we are talking about passive. This is the first part of our two lessons for passive structures in English. Today we'll be talking about what is passive and how to differentiate between a passive sentence and an active sentence. We will discuss why we use passive structure in English and what is the difference between agent and instrument. We will also talk about transitive and intransitive verbs. So stay with us. The first thing we want to talk about is a definition. What is the difference between a subject and an agent? Knowing this distinction is very important in identifying active sentences and passive sentences. When someone gives you a sentence and they ask you, is this an active sentence or a passive sentence? The easiest way and the most straightforward way to answer that question is to know what is the subject in your sentence and what is the agent in your sentence. For example, the subject is what the sentence is about. Sometimes you enter a discussion, you ask, okay, what subject are we talking about? So yes, subject is the word or the phrase we use at the beginning of every sentence. But the thing is, subject is what we are talking about. Look at these two sentences. We say, my car is being washed, present continuous. The subject is my car. We are talking about my car. But is this an active sentence or a passive sentence? We'll talk about it later on. The next sentence. She is driving, again, present continuous. She is the subject of the sentence. Now, what is an agent? The agent has two other names. We call it the doer or the performer, as you can see in here. The doer or the performer does the action in the sentence. So the sentence is not necessarily about the agent, but the agent does the action in the main verb. Example, we say my car is being washed. Obviously, we have had this sentence before. My car is the subject. My car is the subject in here. But my car is not doing the washing, is it? Someone else is doing the washing. So that's why we call it, my car is the subject, but my car is not the agent. The agent is unknown in this sentence. She is driving. She is the subject and also the agent, because she is doing the driving. And what is the significance of this distinction? Now, this is the basic difference between an active sentence and a passive sentence. In an active sentence, as you can see here, the subject and the agent are the same thing. We say, we hired some new employees. So, we is the subject of the sentence. Hire is the main verb of the sentence. You need to ask yourself, who is doing the hiring? We are doing the hiring. So, we is the subject and agent. So we conclude this is an active sentence. In a passive sentence, and as the subject and the agent are two different things. We say, I was hired by a big company. I is the subject of the sentence. The sentence is about me. It is about I. But I am not doing the hiring. The big company is doing the hiring. So I is the subject in the sentence and a big company is the agent. So we conclude, because the subject and the agent are two different things, we say this is a passive sentence. Now, let's see what it looks like when we say this is a passive sentence, how is the structure of that sentence? In an active sentence, look at this. Active. He cleaned the room. This is a sentence in past simple. He is the subject, clean is the main verb in here, and the room is the object of the sentence. If we want to turn this sentence into a passive sentence, we use the object in here. We use the object of the passive sentence as the subject of the active sentence in here. So we say the room. Now, we need to use a form of to-be verb. In every passive sentence, we have a form of to-be verb. I'll explain it in the next slide. We say the room was. Why do we use was? Look at the tense of the active sentence. It says he cleaned the room, past simple. We never change the tense. So we have two options. We could use either were or was for past simple. The room is singular in here, so we use was. Was cleaned, and then we use the main verb in past participle form. In every passive sentence, the main verb is always in past participle form, no exception. So cleaned, and in here, as you can see, we say by him. If we want to mention the agent, we use the preposition by. If you have to mention the agent, you don't have to mention the agent all the time unless it is necessary. Now look at this slide. Another example. The active sentence is, she has already sent all the letters. She is the subject. She did the sending, so she is the subject and the agent. So this is an active sentence. And then sent is the main verb. All the letters is the object. Now we want to transform this active sentence into a passive sentence. We use the object, all the letters, okay, we bring it here as the subject of the passive sentence. Then we need to decide what form of passive to be to use. The tense of the sentence is present perfect. So we have two options, have or has. And because all the letters is plural, we say have. Already, we use the adverb that we used in here. We don't touch it. Have been. This is a passive be. Because, we have multiple reasons for this. Because the main verb in the active sentence is in past participle form. So passive to be needs to be in past participle form. Another reason, we have the auxiliary verb have. After auxiliary verb have or has, the following verb is always in past participle form, no exception, and has been, and then it follows with main verb always in past participle form. You could mention the agent, you could say by her or not. It's up to you. Now, what is passive to be? I have told you that we always have a form of to be in every passive sentence. How do we decide upon the form of this to be verb? Listen to this slide. We say, look, this is what we always do. We always have a form of to be in passive. You shouldn't forget that. The form of passive to be depends on the tense of your sentence. We say the roof was being fixed. This is in past continuous. You need to know that. This was is a to be form and being is also a to be form. Which one is our passive to be? You need to know this is past continuous. In every past continuous sentence, we have either was or were. So we don't touch it. This was is auxiliary verb number one. It belongs to the tense of your sentence. This is not a passive to be. The following to be is a passive to be. We say being because the tense is continuous form, so we use the continuous form of to be. Was being fixed. Fixed, remember, again, always in past participle form in passive sentences. Another example, we say, we will be invited to the ceremony. This is a future simple form. We will be, will belongs to future simple. Be is your passive be in base form, obviously, because after modal verbs, we always use base form of the verbs. And it follows with invited, the past participle of the main verb, to the ceremony. Another example is, she was hired last week. This is past simple, so this was is the only to be form we have in here. So this is obviously the passive to be. You'll have been rescued by them. This is future perfect. We have, interestingly, 3 auxiliary verbs in here. Auxiliary verb number 1 is will, is a modal. This belongs to the tense. Auxiliary number 2 is have. This also belongs to the tense. And auxiliary number 3 belongs to our passive structure. As you can see, I told you, we always, after modal verbs, we follow it with the base form. So we can never say will has. It doesn't exist. Will, have, and after have and has, we always use the past participle form. Rescued by them. Now, another definition we need to learn. What is an agent? What is an instrument? We already know what an agent is. The agent is the entity that does the action in the main verb of the sentence. Well, look at this sentence. When we want to mention the agent, we use the preposition by. We say, he was escorted out by the guards. The guards, obviously, here is the agent of your sentence. That's why we use the preposition by. Instrument is different. Instrument is an object that causes something to happen, or we use to do something. Instrument is introduced by with. Look at this sentence. We say, the door was unlocked by her, the agent, with a key, the instrument. Now, sometimes we come across sentences that have two objects. How could we decide which object to use in the passive form? Either of them would be possible. It's up to you. We say, for example, look at this. They gave him an award. Him is object number one, and award is object number two. We could say, look, this sentence is in past simple. We say he was given, past simple. This is a past participle form of the main verb because this is passive, an award. By them, you could mention the agent or not. It's up to you. Or you could say an award was given. Again, past simple, obviously, we don't change that. An award was given to him by them. Again, mentioning the agent depends on the circumstances. Now, there is another definition we have to know when we are dealing with passives, especially advanced passives. We have a categorization in English verbs. Every verb in English could be a transitive verb or an intransitive verb. But it depends. We cannot just pick a verb and say this is always transitive or this is always intransitive. It depends on the situation. It depends on the context. It depends on the meaning of the sentence. Example, we say she is preparing the documents. A transitive verb always has an object. A transitive verb cannot exist without an object because it transitions the action of the verb onto the object of the sentence. That is actually the philosophy behind the name transitive or intransitive. She is preparing the documents. The documents in here is the object of your sentence, and prepare is your main verb. This is a transitive verb because obviously we have an object. That's it. That is as simple as that. An intransitive verb doesn't need an object. We say I'm walking. Where is your object? It doesn't exist. Now, what is the importance of knowing this distinction between a transitive verb and an intransitive verb? The importance is that intransitive verbs, in here as you can see, intransitive verbs cannot be used in passive. And this is common sense because when you don't have an object, how do you want to create passive? And look, again, when we say I'm walking, walking here is an intransitive verb. We don't have an object. But if you said, I'm walking the dog, in here, walk is a transitive verb. So be careful. A verb, we cannot say this is always transitive or this is always intransitive. You need to pay attention to the situation and to the context. Look, we said, we talked about different aspects of passive, but why do we use passive? Why bother? What is the point of using passive? You could just use all the sentences in active form. The point is here. These are the most important reasons we use passive in English. Sometimes the agent is unknown or unimportant. Example, we say, the hotel rooms are cleaned every day. We don't care or we don't know who cleans the rooms. We only care about the cleanliness of the rooms. So the agent is unknown or unimportant. We use a passive structure. And then sometimes the agent is obvious. So we say he was arrested yesterday. We all know that in all democratic countries, only the police do the arresting. So this is obviously the police. And then another reason, subject is more important than agent. Imagine that you open the Wikipedia page of AC current, or the electricity we are talking about. So all the sentences, or most sentences, tend to begin with AC current because this page is about AC current. The subject of this page is about AC current. Okay, so when you begin that, it is out of your control if it is the agent or not. Especially when it is not the agent, you have to use the passive structure. We say AC current, look at this example here, you can find the mouse. AC current was invented by Nikola Tesla. So, because the subject of this Wikipedia page, for example, is AC current, we begin the sentence with AC current. We don't say Nikola Tesla invented AC current. If the Wikipedia page is about Nikola Tesla, yes, you can begin all the sentences with Nikola Tesla and any other example. But look, the last reason is very important, especially if you're dealing with academic papers, especially if you want to write an essay. Essays and formal texts, it must be impersonal. You don't say I did that or she did that, something like that. It doesn't work that way. So one of the main uses of passive is impersonalizing the text. We say then the water is mixed with the chemicals. We don't say, for example, you're running an experiment in the laboratory. You don't say, I mixed the water with the chemicals. That's funny in academic paper. So you say, then this chemical was mixed with the other chemical, and so on. Now, sometimes some verbs come with a complement. Look at this. We say, we elected. There is a storm going on outside. This is Melbourne. Welcome to Melbourne. We elected her, we elected her the president. Look, with the president in here is the complement for the verb elect. And then they consider him crazy. Crazy in here is the complement for consider because it completes it. It's like the meaning of complement. It is different from compliment. When you say nice things about other people, that has a different spelling and a different meaning, but the same pronunciation, interestingly. In passive, complement comes immediately after verb. Look at this. We say, she was elected the president. Complement immediately after verb. He is considered crazy. Crazy immediately after the main verb. Now, let's do an exercise together. Look, we have how many? 1, 2, 3, we have 9 active sentences. I want you to take time and turn them into passive form. You could pause the video, of course, but I'm going to go on with the answers. The first one, active. We say, the crowd was filling the stadium. Okay, so the stadium object was being filled. Look, we don't touch the tense, past continuous. This is auxiliary verb for past continuous. This being is your passive to be, filled, the main verb in past participle form, by the crowd, the agent. The second example, the computer simplified the work of accountants. The work of accountants is the object, obviously. So we say the work of accountants was simplified, past simple, by the computer, the agent. Next example. Active. Someone has suggested that the shop should close. So in here, the object is a bit unclear, right? That's why we shouldn't be like 100% mechanical. We should be creative about the situation. So we say, we use introductory it. We will discuss introductory it like in one of the future lessons soon. It has been suggested, again, present perfect. It has been suggested that the shop should close. The next example. The waitress will bring your drinks in a moment. Okay, your drinks is obviously the object, so we say, your drinks will be brought. This will is future, the auxiliary verb for future. Be is your passive to be, and brought, the main verb in past participle form. Next example. Someone used a knife to open the window. Okay, the window is obviously the object in here. So we say the window was opened, past simple, with a knife, instrument. The next one. We'll contact you when we've finished dealing with your complaint. Okay, object is you. So we say you, as you can see, you will be contacted, future simple, when we have finished dealing with your complaint. The next example, we say, they announced their engagement in the local paper. Okay, so their engagement is the object. We say, their engagement was announced, past simple, in the local newspaper. The next, nobody ever heard anything of David again. So anything is the object in here, but we cannot use anything as the subject. We need to transform it into nothing. Nothing was ever, in ever, this, as you can see, we use ever as the adverb. We don't touch it, we don't change it. Nothing was ever heard of David again. And the last example, an example with two objects. They paid Sheila £1,000 as a bonus. So we could say, Sheila was paid, past simple, £1,000 as a bonus, or we could use £1,000 as the object. £1,000 was paid, past simple, to Sheila as a bonus. All right. This was our first part of the lesson for passive. If you like the lesson, you know what to do. If you have any questions, if you need any clarifications, you can ask me in the comment section, or you could send me a direct message. See you next time.